Okay. So as I'm walking out to him, obviously I'm going to walk past, I'm going to look in the road, I'm going to see toys and things like that, right? Mm-hmm. So I see that, I see the damage, now we're going to go greet the customer, okay? Good afternoon, sir. Hi, welcome to the dealership. Are you here doing some looking, some shopping a little bit today?
Yeah, I'm checking out that 370Z you guys have, that orange one over there.
Oh, fantastic. Interested in the 370.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Do you mind if I ask, did you have more like product-related questions, get familiar with the vehicle, pricing questions, because you already know it?
I actually had
a little bit of both?
more drive questions, actually. A friend of mine had one, I drove it once or twice.
Yeah.
But as far as I'm at now, I want to downsize from what I'm at. My kids are all of age, 18 and up.
Okay.
So I want some nice weekend car for myself.
Oh, so this is going to be a personal enjoyment vehicle?
Correct.
Excellent. Okay.
Correct.
Well, out of respect for your time, let me do a couple things for you. You're saying you want to get behind the wheel and experience the vehicle, right?
Correct.
And then if I have any other vehicles that are pretty similar, you want to consider those as well? A couple things I can do. I obviously have that one. I'm going to check my current inventory today. I can see what I have on the ground.
Okay.
I can see what I have in my sister location. I can even see what I have coming in.
Okay.
Have you got a little bit of flexibility within your timeline, or is this something you're trying to pull the trigger on pretty soon?
So, I mean, as soon as possible, as long as the numbers make sense for me and the driver's right.
So it's been on your mind for a while.
Yeah, it's about now's the time to act on it.
If you find what you want and everything
That's
makes
it.
sense, let's
Make
get
it
it done.
happen. That's it.
That's exciting.
Yes, sir. Man.
Okay, so let's do this. A couple things I want to do is I'm going to pull the availability on this because it is a Saturday.
Okay.
If somebody's already started a deal on it,
okay.
This happened to me once before, where I start driving a car that somebody's working a deal on. I get back, and the guy's like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "Yeah," and then they're like, "No," and then he's mad at me, and he should be because I screwed up. So I'll do a couple things. I'll verify the availability of the car. Okay. I'll also pull whatever I can on the history of the car, so you get an idea of what the story is. Like, why would somebody trade in a beast like that? See what I can find out there. And then we'll just do a couple things. If you like the car, you like me, you like the deal, you like everything, if you decide to pull the trigger, I won't stop you. Is that fair?
Sounds like a plan.
I'm Jonathan, by the way.
I'm Amir. Pleasure to meet you, sir.
Yeah, let's get started, Amir. I'm going to step inside with you, and I'm going to pull all the information and make sure we do it, everything correct, okay?
Sounds like a plan.
And that's my starting.
Okay.
So what are the proactives that I brought up?
That was clean. That was really clean.
Right? What proactives did I bring? I brought up looking and shopping. Right, brought up product or pricing information, brought up respect for his time.
Brought up my concern, my main concern for the car, whether it's price or availability.
Right, brought up availability of cars like it in my inventory. So if it's not, this is not the final one that we end up on, we're open to options, so exposed options, right? Found out that he doesn't have to buy today, but that if things line up, he'd like to buy today. Okay, and then as we're walking inside, I might drop a couple more nuggets on him. I might say, so do we have the pleasure of being your first stop, or have you been shopping for a while? I might bring up so I understand, did you find the vehicle because you drove by? Did you see it online? How did you know that we had it?
You can see it.
Find out if he's local, find out what research he's done, right?
I've learned I don't know, let me interrupt you, but for some reason the people that travel almost always buy.
Of course, if they've made that commitment.
They're here for a reason.
They made that commitment.
They're here to go look and go home to Asbury or Neptune.
So, and then this is the next thing that I would do that again, Amir didn't do, but at some point should do, is then as we're walking inside, I'm going to say, so have you been able to interact? How familiar are you with our dealership? Have you been able to interact with any of our employees, contacted anybody, talked to somebody here? I'll make sure that if you have an appointment, let them know that you're here. Right, so I'm going to ask, how familiar are you with our dealership? Have you had any interaction or conversations with anybody here that's expecting you? I can let them know that you're here. So I don't bring that up as my first or second question. I don't say, are you here to see anybody, as my second question, because I don't want the customer to think that I'm only interested in you if I can sell you a car.
Exactly.
I want him to know I'm interested in him because he's a customer. But then I also want to make sure that I do find out that if he has been online or has been in communication or he called in before he showed up on a Saturday, right, and he's supposed to be sitting here with Zach, that I know that as I'm walking in, right? Yeah. So I say, oh, you were talking to Zach? Absolutely. Shoot, man, Zach's going to be dynamite to see you here. He loves that car. All right, let me get Zach for you.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
I mentioned the availability of the car. Why do I mention the availability of the car? That I'm going to verify that.
It's only a few of them in the inventory that are like, actually 2 used ones.
Right, so there's only a couple like that out there, and there's 2 things. It's technically possible that we go for a drive on that car and somebody's working a deal.
And so when you get back.
So that is possible. The other thing is I want to create that sense of urgency and scarcity. That, hey, if you want it, somebody else might be buying it. Right?
Yeah.
So that's my opener, and that's what you want is about 45 seconds to 60 seconds of proactivity in the beginning. Get that out of the way, and then from there, you go into your transition of your investigative. right? So that's when you start asking, when you sit them down at the desk, hey, let me pull up the inventory, let me pull up the keys for the car. What's most important to you in a vehicle, just in general? Like if I'm looking at other options, what's the main thing you're looking for in your next car that's going to help you narrow down which one? If it's not this one and it's a different one, what's most important to you? And so how would you answer that? What's most important to you in your next car?
Definitely 2 seats.
Okay.
And it has to be at least 300 more horsepower.
Okay, so the first part was what?
2 seats.
2 sheets?
2 seats. 2 seats.
2 seats.
2-seater.
So a 2-seater
Yes, sir.
is important to you, and 300 plus horsepower.
And also manual transmission.
The manual is also personally important.
On that note,
Yeah.
to get out of role
Yeah.
play, how do you combat, like, so let's say someone says, I actually had
Yeah.
this. Somebody came in for a Z,
Yeah.
but he wanted to use one, that to be manual.
Yeah.
That's the only manual I want to have. That's 40 and change.
Right.
This one's only around 30.
Right.
How do you go to flip them into, like...
I don't necessarily flip them. What I do is I test their commitment, which is what I was about to do with you.
Okay.
So I'm going to say, so Amir, just to clarify, of all my options in my inventory, if I have something that's a beast on the power, right, and it's the 2 seats, but it's not a manual, but it's priced to go, right? It's got sex appeal, right? It ain't your busted hoopty Sportage, right? It ain't, or whatever he was at. What's that?
Rogue, yeah.
The Rogue, right? It ain't
Yeah.
your Rogue, right? So today, instead of driving out in your busted hoopty Rogue, you're rolling in something that's got the 2 seats, it's got the power, but it's not the manual, but it's the paddle shift, right? Do you want me to at least show it to you, or you want me to not even show you?
I'll consider it.
That's all I'm
I'll
asking.
consider it. That's
I
it.
just want to know what we can say yes to. That's it. So what I do is I say I'm going to test what they said against a couple of other variables, like against pricing or payments or something like that, and then I'm going to say if that's here right now, should I even show it to you or just walk? Don't even mention it. If they say, well, I mean, nothing wrong with looking at it, then I say, so you are flexible if it meets, if it makes sense.
Makes sense.
And then now I know they're flexible. If they say, no, I don't even want to look at it, then I say, okay, so what you're saying is it doesn't matter if it would be, let's say it was the son of the owner had it, it had hail damage, we had it fixed, it looks mint, and now we can sell it for 10 grand below market, but it's a automatic. I don't even show you the car. Now I know. Well, no, I ain't saying that. If it's
Yeah, exactly.
Amir, work with me, man. Help me out. What is it? Is it so the payments and the pricing will play a factor? If it doesn't, so you're saying it doesn't have to be that if the money makes sense.
Correct, but ideally I would go for manual.
And you would pay more to get the manual.
Yeah.
Okay. See what he just said?
If I'm getting it, you pay more to get the manual. You bum me.
See how he just
Bum me.
see what he just did?
Bum me.
Once the customer locks down on something, once they do, my next response is simple. So what you're telling me is that's important, and you would pay more to get what you really want. I'm the same way. Like when I bought my last TV, I was telling my wife, and then I'll relate to it. I bought my last TV, I was telling my wife, and she's like, why don't you just get this one? I said, because I like the way this one looks, and I like the frame on it, and I like the features that it has. And she says, yeah, but it's like $600 more. And I said, yeah, if I'm going to spend this kind of money, I'm willing to pay more to get what I want. You're the same way, right?
Correct.
So now he just told me that he will pay more to get what he wants.
Or take something for less, but it's
To save money. And if he tells me that, then I do the same thing. If he says, yeah, I'll be flexible, I say, then you're like me. There's certain things when I'm going to spend a lot of money, if I can save some money and it doesn't have everything, but it's good enough, I'd rather save some money sometimes. So, I'm going to, I'm like you. That's because there are times when I will not spend the money to save money to have something that works. So in both cases, it's completely true.
Correct.
There are places in my life where I will pay more to get what I want, and there are other places where I won't pay more just because I can settle for something and it's okay.
Makes sense.
And no matter what he chooses, I relate to it. And tell him a story that relates to it. And say, yeah, I'm the same way. Just a while ago, I was spending this, and I had the choice, and I said, why would I spend, this much more when I can save the money and do this instead? I'd rather take that money and spend it on something else. I can do some customization or something if I want to spend the money. Right?
Yeah, relate to the exact situation at hand.
So that's the working theory. So what I need both of you, now that Anthony's here, I need all three of you to do, is I need you to become freaking Grandmaster Ninjas at this. I mean, you should be role-playing every single day, 2 times a day, as a circle like this, 3 people standing around. You're observing his body language and his tonality, right? You're grading each other. Here's what I liked. I don't know if I like that. What about this? You didn't do that. Do that for 15 minutes.
You gotta get me over there.
Yeah.
You're not gonna get anyone to do it.
Yeah, nah. The fact that we're in the same building. Yeah.
Mark May.
Mark would.
Mark would. That's it. Me and Mark. Jamil's not going.
I'm
I don't
not
want to say
on
names,
Florida,
but just
Yeah, no, I definitely would.
Yeah, so
you're still with the
yeah,
PDC,
some guys
so
are
we'll definitely
comfortable,
have a
some
couple
guys are
times.
less comfortable with their income. There's not a single person here that I would trade my income for their income.
Ivan Paul?
No, not even Paul.
Wow.
No.
That's
My money compared to his money, I promise you, for what he stresses over to make what he makes, what I stress over to make what I make, trust me, he'd rather have my job. He'd rather have my money.
Travel.
Yeah. Come on.
Where
You
do you
kidding?
live?
I live in Atlanta.
Oh.
Did
So-
your wife ever get the Amazon cat toy?
I don't know. I have to see. Well, she text me if
You
it
gotta
came.
go on Amazon, see if it's delivered.
I'll see. Well, she trust me. She'll text me if
She
it got
would've.
delivered.
Atlanta, I was flew away from Atlanta to here
What's that? Yeah.
for a weekend.
Yeah. So anyway, but my point is, guys, is I want you to be rich. I want you to be rich. Now, for rich, for each one of you is a different number.
Yeah.
Like if you thought about like a really healthy number for an annual that you could look back and go, man, I made this much in a year. I bet you all three of you have a different number in your mind of what that should be for you, right? If I said, man, if you go to the ATM and you pull out $20, right, and you get the slip and it says available balance, like all of you right now have a different number of what the available balance would be to make you smile.
Yeah.
Where you would go, this feels good, right? You have a different number. But what I probably, and again, maybe assumption, but what I probably can assume fairly is that whatever that number is that's there now is not making you smile every time you see it,
Absolutely not.
right? So but that doesn't change by being a nice guy. That doesn't change by liking people. That doesn't change by liking cars or liking selling cars. It changes because work ethic and discipline and role play and practice and delivery. And when I was calling out Dan a few minutes ago and asking him to give me the steps, he says, well, I'm not in the right mindset. I said, that's BS, man. It's not about your mindset. It's about what you know. Because when I asked him for his address, did you hesitate?
No, not even.
So you were in the same mindset, but you could give me your address. So if you can give me your address, but you can't role play, it has nothing to do with you being in a mindset. It has to do with what you know.
Absolutely.
Okay? So you have to know it as well as you know your address. That if I put you on the spot in front of everybody and say, what's your address? You don't hesitate. If I put you on the spot in front of everybody.
One of the trainers that say, I think it's either Velco or maybe Camacho, that he says, or Ken, he says, you got to do it until you can't get it. What's this?
You don't practice until you can get it right. You practice until you can't get it wrong.
Who says it?
I don't remember who originally said it, but we all say it because it's true. You practice until you can't get it wrong. That's what you practice. You need to know how to respond to price. You need to know how to open up the greeting. You need to know how to do these things. Those first 5 minutes, they're so crucial. The first 5 minutes with a customer, if you're winging any of that, you're a fool. You're costing yourself tens of thousands of dollars. Okay? Don't be that person. All right, I got to get over there and spend some time with Mark, and then I got to hit on a flight and get out of here, so I got to wrap this up.
Thank you so much for coming.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
your time.
Thanks for role playing with me, okay?
Thank you for getting me a little bit more comfortable with co-videos.
Yeah, happy to help.
By the time you come back, hopefully I can be a grandmaster.
You'll be a grandmaster, buddy.